Hello everybody, we're going live. Welcome to this video, welcome to this astrological update for the beginning of 2021 and the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, which is a really big deal and experience that if you are tuned into such things, I'm sure you've already heard about. So what is it exactly? Saturn and Jupiter are planets that are the outermost of the personal planets, and they move quite slowly. Jupiter moves through one sign a year, whereas Saturn moves through a sign every 2.5 years. Every 20 years, or 19.85 years, the planets conjoin exactly. And this signals a 20-year chapter of what frequencies we'll be working with. And actually, every 200 years, just about, the planets will meet in the same sign with a couple times it doesn't line up. So this actually began in 1980 with the planets joining in Libra, and then there was a shift back into the Earth signs Capricorn, which they have been in for 200 years, and finally now we're entering full power air signs for the next 200 years. This signals an entrance into an age of air, and many are speaking of it as the age of Aquarius, which is of course something that's been around for a while. Other astrologers dismiss that and say we're not quite there yet, though I think with these things, for me, the signs say yes, this is the age of Aquarius, and it's just a matter of what you believe and anticipate and choose to be your experience. Without a doubt, this is the age of technological advancement, and it's the age of space travel and the age of disclosure around those things. Those are all Aquarian themes, and it is the time of humanity and people taking their power back, and those are all related to Aquarius. Without a doubt, the Aquarian age is here. And now, the planets Saturn and Jupiter, again, meeting on the solstice, have not been so close to create this elongated star that you will see on the night of the solstice. And you can already see now, the way that I see it when I look out, and right now for where we are, I think this is everywhere in the world, but they've been coming up just a little bit right as the sun is setting, and a couple days ago they were very close to the moon. Now they will probably be a little bit behind the moon, and you can see them in those early evening hours and watch them getting closer and eventually watch them gradually drifting apart. It's really beautiful, and this kind of conjunction hasn't been so exact in 800 years, and many associate this with the Christmas star that took place around the birth of Jesus was perhaps Saturn and Jupiter conjunction, because it's a very, very bright star. So take a look at that and just notice how that feels for you. Does that signal a sign of hope, of awakening? And Aquarius is actually associated with the tarot card, the star, which has so much to do with hope and new beginnings and planting your seeds for new cycles and renewing that faith. So how can you best handle these energies and work with these energies? Obviously, as a solstice, whatever energy we bring to a certain moment is amplified. So getting an alignment in yourself, what do you need to work on in yourself or in your life and in your relationships that's really going to bring you to that next level of a more complete opening and heart connection. And the energy you bring to the solstice and to this new year will carry with you through the year. In other videos I talk more about frequency and law of attraction and creating our reality, and that definitely plays big into key when we're tapping into more cosmic events like this. And I won't say too much about it at the moment, but I will say tune your frequency in, and I'll talk about the energies that we can really look for. Now, Aquarius in mythology relates to the myth of Ganymede. And Ganymede was said to be one of the most beautiful humans, beautiful men of Troy. And Zeus transformed into an eagle in order to go and take Ganymede into the realm of the gods. And Ganymede then became the water bearer, the cup bearer of the gods, and became immortalized. And this speaks a lot about, the power of our humanity. When we are naturally ourselves, we attract the beauty, the love of the gods, and we become godlike. Though Ganymede is in a way in this funny realm because Zeus's wife Hera is quite jealous of Ganymede, and eventually, in some myths, that is why Ganymede becomes immortalized by being made into this constellation in the sky of Aquarius. So Ganymede is, no longer of the humans, but new to the realm of the gods. So Ganymede is somewhere in between. And as Aquarius relates to innovation and transformation, transforming the old, bringing in new energies, and Aquarius, also relates to egalitarian principles of making things accessible and equal for all, giving power back to the people, combating injustice. Aquarius then connects with making the everyday human godlike. And in order to really tap into this energy, you have to tap into your essential humanity and tap into, within that humanity, what makes you unique. What makes you exactly, perfectly who you are, because that is what allows you to bring gifts into the world. I'm going to talk more about how this relates in a personal way, though. In a more collective way, this does mean, again, Aquarius is bringing the man to the gods, so it's about contact timelines. And as we move deeper into Pluto moving into Aquarius in 2023, this will be a whole new shift in terms of technology and contact with our friends up there. And what we're seeing now is that we're actually drawing the contact timelines much closer to us. And we can use this potent opportunity to, again, if we want contact, we have to align our frequency with that, following our passion and inviting in that energy. So in the short term, the Aquarius energy can be linked to both, again, technological advancements, and it's also linked to human liberation movements. So a lot of seeds were planted for women's liberation when Pluto was in Aquarius in the late 1700s, that's 1778 to 1798. That's when the American Revolution took place. So, combating the systems that were controlling and oppressing. And America will go through its Pluto return in 2022, though, the energy of that revolutionary spirit carries through into Aquarius. Now, when Jupiter was in Aquarius last time in 2009 and 2010, that is when this platform that this is streaming on Facebook really took hold and really got big. So it'll be interesting to see what happens through Facebook after 12 years of this cycle, and there may be even newer technologies or newer ways that these technologies integrate. Aquarius also has to do with, again, if we look back to when Saturn dipped into Aquarius just a little bit earlier this year, it had to do with lockdown came into place, and then there was also these civil rights movements. In America, the George Floyd protests and Black Lives Matter going to the next level. And this connects back into Saturn in Aquarius in like 1992 or 93, I'm not sure, 94 maybe. Sometime around then was the Rodney King incident and the protest around that. So people are going to be claiming their power back. And some people said that lockdown is going to happen again with Saturn moving into Aquarius, but to me that feels a lot like it connected to Jupiter and Capricorn as well, because when Jupiter is lagging behind, and Jupiter is in Capricorn, what you consider its detriment. So Jupiter can't function. Jupiter seeks to expand us and bring us into a new direction, but in Capricorn, Jupiter's energy is more turned inside, and it can't fully open itself. So Jupiter moving into Aquarius, which happened just today, signals this kind of release, a movement forward that, okay, now we can actually be more open. Just by the fact that Jupiter moves out of its detriment, it's like a weight is kind of lifted. And you may feel that energetically right now. And you may have felt that a couple days ago when Saturn moves into Aquarius. So likely there will be more of these movements where people stand up for themselves and for what they want to experience as their reality. Now, what else is happening I'm going to go into things that are happening in the moment of this solstice and the conjunction, and then I'm going to go more into what's happening through the early phases of 2021 and the end of the year. First, kind of looking at collectively what that may mean and personally what that may mean. So we also have, at the same time of the conjunction, Mars squaring Pluto for the third time. And Mars is still recovering from its shadow phase, and when Mars and Pluto touch, it's, a transformation. Pluto represents transformation and release of Mars-related themes, our willpower, our assertive drive, our masculine yang principle that's kind of going and trying to achieve what it wants. There may be a personal conflict that comes up in this time, and there may be greater tensions and conflicts. I connect perhaps the increase in lockdown more with Pluto square Mars, because the Capricorn energy is quite restrictive to Aries, Mars, individual freedom. There may be more of this energy, and you may find that you need to examine ways that you've been relating to others that don't work anymore, ways that you've been trying to assert your will or get what you want in the world that don't work anymore, and see things in a different way, work for what you're looking towards in a different way. These are cardinal energies, so it can be very dynamic within this. Tuning into the energy of Aquarius again with Jupiter and Saturn coming together, we want to use this as a moment to look to the future, because Aquarius is all about the future. What energies do you really want to bring in? What life do you want to experience? What reality on this earth do you want to experience? Because understand, moving into the more quantum dimension of things, there's many different versions of Earth, and there's many different sorts of consciousness that are now expressing on Earth. There is more of this, artificial matrix and the old way of doing things, detached so much from the emotions and feelings that we are breaking our connection to nature. And then there's the return to our essential humanness in the timeline of the spiritual awakening. And these two pockets are going to be more and more divided. The square between these, between energies in Taurus and energies in Aquarius may speak to that a little bit, because the coldness and the detachment that you can see in many people also relates to Aquarius. That's more of the shadow side of Aquarius, and there's going to be challenges from the continual coming up against the Taurus energy, which is very warm-hearted, deep values, is all about our connection to our bodies and the earth, being comfortable within ourselves and opening our hearts. So this is a testing time to really make sure, with the technological advancement that's happening, are we still allowing in these heart-centered energies that bring us comfort and grounding and security? Because it is the dynamic tension between both of these energies and our ability to balance this that will really support this awakening. So how do you see your relation to that? How do you see your expansion as technology expands? How do you see yourself navigating these shifting currents of the earth reality? It's a good question to ask yourself that on the solstice, and always remain hopeful and open that your dreams come true, because our imagination and our beliefs create our reality. And when we can see something and we can feel the frequency of what it was like, what it would be like if we already had it, and hold that feeling with us and take the necessary actions, we're accelerating our manifestation. And these tools you can see more about on my YouTube channel. I've been working with for years, and I can say it definitely works. What else is happening on this great day? Yeah, those are the energies that are most at present there. But then when we get to Christmas, we have the moon squaring Uranus. So there may be unexpected emotions, because again, Uranus is everything that's unexpected and transforming. We don't see it coming. The moon's our inner emotional reality. So the moon conjunct, not squaring Uranus, sorry, conjunct. So it can be an epiphany. We can get insight, or it can, disrupt us, or it can send us unexpectedly into a state of bliss. It just depends on how much we're focused on what we need to be working with. And the solstice energy will carry that. Speaking again about the moon, so the moon touched the planets in Capricorn just before they were leaving for the last time a couple of days ago. And that signals, in a sense, an end of an era. You may have felt like something was shifting at that time, about 3 days ago, December 18th. But moving forward, anyway, it's Aquarius energy. So Venus moved into Sagittarius a couple of days ago as well. 3-4 days ago, Venus was in its detriment in Scorpio, so Venus energy was a little bit turned inward. And you might have found that you were not as social or able to make connections, or there were issues coming up with value systems or money as Venus was in Scorpio. But Venus in Sagittarius is more outgoing, and now Venus is really seeking greater connection. And Venus will now meet the South Node. The South Node is about endings, release, can be about our attachment to the past, and it's also about our comfort zones, maybe things that we've already mastered or already know very well that we have to sort of leave behind, but it feels, like it's challenging to do so. So Venus there will relate to letting go of past relationships or letting go of values. And in Sagittarius, as it's all about beliefs, it can be letting go of ideas that we have valued, beliefs about ourselves and about reality that we may have valued. So as we begin the new year, you want to take a reevaluation of your relationships and witness over this next week or so. Maybe there's some relationships you have in your life that don't fulfill you or aren't really lifting you up. And just as we're stepping into the new year, Venus will conjunct with that South Node. And if, you haven't seen a change in those relationships, then it may be time to let them go or choose to relate in a different way. So Venus in Sagittarius is also then squaring Neptune, and Neptune with the nodal axis has been shattering a lot of illusions, or for people who aren't clearing their sight, bringing people deeper into the illusions. Venus square Neptune. Venus and Neptune are like different octaves of the same frequency of love. Venus being the more personal love, and Neptune being this more celestial love. So as they collide, you may feel that there's this gap between the way you're accessing love in your personal life and then in your spiritual life. Or it can mean that, there's illusions coming into relationships. If you can reconcile your beliefs and your spirituality with your relationships around that time, it is very beautiful. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to the next month. And I have all of these as little images that are probably going to be hard to understand for those who are new to astrology. But if you have some understanding of it, I will post them later, and they can be kind of like, calendar markings of events that are going to happen. So in January, we are seeing a square. So again, before I even go into this, it's important to talk about the general energy of all of the squares between the Aquarius and the Taurus energy. So right now, Uranus is in Taurus, and the last time Uranus was in Taurus was in 1934 to 1940 something. And this was, of course, a time of moving into World War II, but on the more positive side of things, this was also a time of a lot of social reform in the United States and around the world related to economic support and systems that helped people get the resources they needed. Right after the Great Depression, we saw a gradual implementation of support systems for people. And now, as the old economic way of doing things, the Capricorn energy is kind of collapsing. Taurus energy, I said to somebody the other day, somebody asked me what sign relates most to money, and the first thought that I had was Capricorn, but my friend, another astrologer, was with me and said Taurus. And then I was like, yeah, no, I don't agree. Taurus relates more to abundance, and abundance is only the ability to do what we need to do. Taurus is our resources, the things that we have, the things that nourish us. Money being a key asset of that, but money does relate more to Capricorn, because Capricorn is this, top-down authority kind of patriarchal energy that's very serious, very focused, very concerned with what's mine, what's theirs, and very focused on hard-working energies. And the whole capitalist system is really built to keep some people in power and some people not. It's based on very corrupt values, and that's coming to an end, while Taurus, our values, our resources, is undergoing a renovation. And yes, at this time, it does relate to Bitcoin and this and that, though in the grand scheme of things, I do think digital currency will definitely take a stronghold when we see that in the future Pluto will be in Aquarius, Pluto relating to those power dynamics and Aquarius relating to innovation. Those things are going to take a stronghold. But also, Uranus and Taurus is like, it is going to be a time where there's no more of this, some people having resources and other people not having them. And in these next months, there may be, the beginnings of great challenges that start to implement these new systems that allow for everybody to have equal access to resources and balance and harmony within the human collective in as many ways as possible. So yeah, Uranus moving through Taurus is shifting our values, shifting the way we relate to our resources and money, and perhaps it shifts how we relate to the Earth. As Uranus moves further through Taurus, we may see climate issues coming into place, and I personally see COVID-19 itself as a climate issue, because if we look at this, how can a disease, an airborne disease, spread so easily in our world? What factors put that into place? And namely, they are the destruction of the environment, allowing diseases to move out into the human biome, and the congregation of people in cities, putting people so close together that pathogens can spread so easily. So we're moving into a phase of the Earth that is the deconstruction of the old. And our whole lives are going to be defined by deconstructing the old order. Pluto in Aquarius, Aquarius being society, transforming the way society works itself. And it does mean breaking down this urban model of things and breaking down all of the technologies that pollute the Earth. And through innovative technology, opening up to realizing we're not the only ones here. Humans themselves are gods, are like the gods, and there are godlike beings that can contact us telepathically already. If you tune into my other work, you already have a sense of that, and they are, we're opening up to allowing that to come through. Just with these early initiations into planets moving into Aquarius, there's greater reveals of disclosure coming from the government of the US and Israel, saying, oh yeah, those things are real, but they don't want us to tell you about them because you're all not ready yet. So for people who aren't naturally willing to change and transform, these squares with Aquarius may be really challenging. It may really challenge old values and people who are stuck in old ways of doing things. But for those people who are already naturally a little bit more Aquarian, are a little bit ready to break out of the box of the old way of seeing things and doing things, this is going to be beautiful and powerful. And this aspect of Aquarius square to Taurus, I have in my own natal chart. Interesting. My moon's in Taurus, my Saturn's in Aquarius. This is my Saturn return. So I'm just really interested to see how this plays out with all of these energies dancing on a pretty intense aspect of my chart. So the first square from Aquarius and Taurus that we see is Mercury entering Aquarius while Mars enters Taurus. So in this Mars-Taurus energy, we've been in a really kind of go-getter, pushing forward, fiery mode. Mars entering Taurus will be a little bit more calculated. It's still very focused and determined on its goal, though it is in a sense more practical and more, opening to more grounded ways of doing things. And Mercury in Aquarius is now opening the mind to bigger picture things, opening the mind to innovate and transform. So this dynamic tension might be, we may see grand ways of doing things, but feel limited to do it only in practical ways. So the balance between Taurus and Aquarius is managing the practical with the celestial and the idea realm. Aquarius and Taurus might not get along that well when they're not open of different ways of seeing things, yes. Aquarius is very idea-oriented, whereas Taurus is very materially oriented. So we have to, with all of these energies, line up these big ideas that are coming to us with grounded action. So that's happening on the 9th of January. Then on the 12th, we've got another square from Mercury to Uranus. Mercury again being the lower mind, Uranus is the higher mind. So there can be this sudden influx of information, or we may find that downloads and epiphanies and insight we're getting don't line up with the way that our lower logical mind sees things, and we have to integrate new ideas. So that's January 12th, 13th. Moving a bit forward, we've got Jupiter squaring Uranus. So that's on the 18th and the 19th of January. Jupiter squaring Uranus. We may be wanting to expand in these big ways, and then again, it's a matter of lining up our personal growth, our expansion, with the limitations of the earth plane and accepting these energies. And it can also bring, sudden change. All of these aspects to Uranus will bring sudden change. So look for sudden change on that day. The 21st is Mars lining up with Uranus, and Mars coming into this dynamic energy with Jupiter. Didn't think of that one so much. 24th, we've got the Sun meeting Saturn. So our soul essence, the collective focus of the world, can come in terms with this new pattern that we have to create. Saturn being paternal, it's about patterns, it's about karma. Saturn is this long-term influence. When we're thinking about Saturn energies, it's like it forces us to work. So our work is in opening and expanding ourselves in Aquarius. Our work is in bringing in the new. And when the Sun lines up with it, it can be a pivotal moment where our heart really understands this work that we're meant to be doing. And then later, on the 30th, we have the Sun lining up with Jupiter in Aquarius. So that can give us a greater feeling of expansion. We're expanding into it. And Saturn makes us work, but Jupiter makes us dream and believe. So it's lining our work with our actions. Our belief with our actions. They're in the same energy, transforming the old order. What is that? 23 of Capricorn. Venus in Capricorn is conjunct Pluto. Another transformation of love and relationships happening in the 26th of January. Then Mercury goes retrograde the 31st of January, and the Sun is square to Mars. Again, Sun square to Mars. So another place where there can be dynamic tension arising around the 31st. Looking into the next month. So after January and February, all of the Aquarius energy really gets activated because, because Venus steps into Aquarius, and now we have as many planets all at once in Aquarius. So that February new moon is going to be amazing. As the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter are all lined up in Aquarius. And particularly, we have then another degree of tension between Mercury and Mars, a second sort of instance of perhaps seeing our ideas or ways of seeing things don't line up with our actions, and having to bring them together. In terms of, the collective, all of this can really mean, I see it as agendas that are being pushed that don't serve humanity will fail, because Uranus upheaves things, and Uranus breaks things down. And we're implementing a lot of different changes in the world now. These vaccines, we're going to see what happens with this in the months to come, what effects those things have. It's going to be really interesting to see around February how that actually manifests. And so the first of several squares with Saturn and Uranus in these earth signs happens February 16th. And that can be a really big moment of the structures again coming up into challenge. Unexpected experiences manifesting. And agendas being pushed, collapsing perhaps. It's interesting to also note that Uranus is ruled by Aquarius, where Saturn is at. Saturn used to be ruled by Aquarius in old astrology, so Saturn is still quite happy in Aquarius, and Saturn in Aquarius will always bring in new frequencies. But Saturn is more often associated with Earth energies, and Uranus is an Earth energy. So the role of these two planets are kind of flipped in this as they're coming up against each other. So it's really bringing in energies like we've never seen before. And, okay, I didn't do as much in that month as I did in January. And March, what do we have going on is eventually we've got Venus again lining up with the nodal axis, squaring the nodal axis rather, and coming into conjunction with Neptune. So this will kind of mark the cycle, as again I've said, in the end of the year, as it's in Sagittarius and on the nodal axis, can signal an ending of relationships. And if you really are ending of ways of seeing things, and ending of our values, a transformation in that realm, our beliefs as well, Sagittarius energy. And as we witness, moving from one mutable energy to the next mutable energy, it will show us the reward for meeting that challenge in our relationships or our values. And the planet of the personal love again lines up with the planet of spiritual love, this time in that home sign of Pisces. And Venus in Pisces is very happy and exuberant and playful, joyful. So you can sort of witness again the challenge in your relationships coming from that moment into March. The work you do now in that realm is going to be greatly rewarded. And it really just comes down to feeling love. Are you doing things in your life that bring you to feel love? Are you engaging with people that make you feel the most love? Are you bringing all of your truth to the table? And then looking at the next equinox, again, Mars square Saturn now. Oh, Mars trine Saturn, not square. Mars has moved through all of this Uranus energy that might bring some more frustration into the changes that are happening. So it's about then transcending the frustration and moving into Mars and Gemini is more flexible and can do things in different ways, can see things from many angles. And that trying to Saturn allows us to do things in totally new ways and finally supports us in actually implementing the changes that we may have seen these first couple of months being a catalyst for the changes themselves. So that's the forecast, and because these squares are in fixed planets, fixed energies can take a lot longer to percolate. Fixed energy is about stability and seeing long-term perspectives. So when we're tapped into fixed energy, there may be a lot of tension, and we have to really stay focused to meet the fixed energy in the way that it wants to be met. Cardinal energies or mutable energies can be much more changing and dynamic, but a fixed energy is about staying really steadily focused. So understanding this, knowing that in these times we may be really steadily committed to working through certain themes, you may ask yourself and invite yourself to expand into what those themes are now for you, tapping into your dreams as the solstice comes about and the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction comes about, knowing that it is bringing us into an energy of newness, an energy of innovation. And the more that you can innovate yourself and see yourselves in new ways, the more that this will serve you. So again, the pitfalls of Saturn in Aquarius are outsider complexes. So Aquarius likes to innovate everything. Aquarius likes to be in the community, and sometimes the challenge that shows up here is feeling as if, you know, you want to be a part of something so much, but seeing all of the flaws inherent in it and allowing those flaws to stop you from participating as fully as you can, because really your awareness of that is what's there to help you change it. And again, the Taurus energy maybe is sometimes reluctant to change. So we have to ask ourselves in these times, how can we implement changes in our lives and in our relationships and in the world that can not push people so far out of a state of comfort that they freeze. Transformation in dramatic or shocking ways sometimes leaves us more traumatized or leaves us in a greater state of resistance. And the best way to transform is gradually allowing ourselves to break more and more out of the shells holding us back. And instead of pushing against so hard, doing things that are, you know, very intuitively aware of how others are feeling can really support this process. Other pitfalls of Aquarius is moving towards the new just for the sake of it and disregarding the old just because it's old. So we want to implement these new changes in ways that genuinely feel really good and are genuinely beneficial, not just because we're tired of the old thing. Take what we can from the old that serves us and bring it with us into the new. And yeah, Saturn in Aquarius, the last pitfall is, you know, of Aquarius is coldness. So much emotional detachment that we freeze up or we're not able to empathize with others, that we're so focused on the collective that we can't bring into awareness the needs of the individual. So the best understanding to reconcile this is that, you know, the collective is made up of individuals. Again, it's our individuality and our uniqueness that allows us to tap into the needs of the whole. So honoring individual needs and honoring what makes every person in their own way feel comfortable, feel the joy and the contentment of just being alive on this earth, because that's the Taurus energy. It's really sinking into things and appreciating the beauty around you. So don't allow the principles, mental principles, to snap you too far out of honoring the beauty and being present with the beauty and the unique ways that every person can connect with that energy of beauty. So, okay, thanks for everyone who's been watching this. You can start to ask questions if you want. I didn't really see any questions. I saw some people saying hi. Thanks for your beautiful comments and all of your love. Do you want to ask about how this may impact your chart? You can do that if you share your ascendant, sun sign, moon sign, or any planets that you know. I can speak to that. So in general, with the energies at work now, people who have early degrees of fixed signs. Fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. So if you have planets from 0 to 10 of the fixed signs, you'll be very impacted in these next months. And I have those planets. I have some planets there, so I'm excited to see what this brings for me. If you have planets towards the end of cardinal signs, Capricorn, Cancer, And Aries and Libra, the Pluto energy is still present with you. Of course, that's a very long-term influence. My Mercury, Venus, and Mars are all in Aquarius. So that's really exciting. You're going to have both your Mercury returns and your Venus return in that time. And this is the time, this next year, it's like Saturn and Jupiter. Jupiter brings you expansion in all those areas, expansion in your relationships, in your communication, expansion in the way you do things, but also it makes you work to do that. So this is a time where you're probably going to grow a lot as a person, but you're going to have to work hard to experience those results. You can't just sit around and let it happen. And the other planets that are playing a role in this will also expand that energy a lot. And you may find like you're coming back to yourself, you're coming back to your essence. And yeah, it also, do you know what your ascendant is, Chelsea? Because that will also kind of speak more to where and what area of life this will be affecting you. Oh, the wind's coming, and just as I was thinking of the wind, before I was thinking about the wind, because I remembered that the Mayan energy that the solstice is on is one eek. One energies begin 13-day trisenas or cycles. Eek being the wind is about change, and air signs are a lot about change. We're moving into this air era, so change and transformation will be constant. And we're definitely going to feel this potently with the solstice. And through those 13 days after the solstice, it's really about coming to honor your words more and understanding the power of your words. Our words are magic. Air relates to words. The words are carried out through the air, and what we speak becomes our reality. So with this being an air era, we really have to pay attention to that, and we're going to be invited to pay close attention to that in that 13-day cycle following the solstice. And air here is also associated with random bouts of anger. So you may witness those in the times to come, and the key to working with this isn't to just like primal scream and release, but it's more to like sit with that anger, because anger is an invitation for us to make changes. And when we're angry, it means that something in our life isn't working and we need to change the way we do things. But so often people vent or suppress that anger rather than channeling the energy into directed action that will make the change and that will let the anger disappear. Okay, back to Chelsea. Your Aries rising, so that makes your 7th house Libra, then your 8th house is Scorpio, and that's easy if you're Aries rising. Actually, your 11th house. So the changes will have to do with community for you, and also for service to humanity. So there may be ways in which the way that you serve change and the way that you relate to community change. You may find yourself in a new community, or you may find yourself expanding the community you're already a part of. You may find yourself really tapping into your gifts a lot more and having to do work in that area of how do I serve, how do I give back, and how do I connect with the community that I'm a part of or not a part of. So at this point, thanks to everyone for watching. I'm taking questions. You can ask about how these influences may affect your chart. Also, I am doing readings, so if you want a one-to-one reading, you can contact me for that. I don't have fully that much space, but I'm sure I have enough for those who need the readings. You're welcome, Chelsea. Good to see you here. Any other questions? I'll give it a minute or two. Oh, the channeling course starts again in January. I haven't found a date yet. I've got a couple people interested. I don't think it's going to be a full packed course this time. So that's not actually even what I want. But if you're interested, details are on my website, dantestarshine.com. I'll be doing the live channeling again on the solstice in the morning. Any other questions? There's so many people watching. You guys don't have anything to ask? I have a question. How are you so amazing? Oh my god, how am I so amazing? I'm just naturally who I am. I just, at points in my life decided I'm not going to do things that I don't like doing. I'm only going to do things that make me feel expanded. I put a lot of commitment into making sure I do practices that I know that are good for me every single day of my life. I share love with everyone I see. I experience the world around me as this field of love, and I realize I can take in energy from everything, from appreciating the beauty in the trees to the beauty in the person in front of me, and really work to make it my practice to constantly take in that beauty. Plant medicine helped. Commitment, appreciation. Thanks for the amazing question, Sage. I like that ego stroke a little bit. We all have to love our egos. People think that our egos are gonna fade away through a certain point of awakening, but really, they just get bigger, and it's just a matter of not making that ego an arrogant one and making it a very loving ego, a self-loving ego, because the more love you have for your ego, the more love you can actually share to others. It's pretty cool. Predictions for the new year. I guess you tapped in late, but the new year is really about releasing old values, old relationships, and asking ourselves, what isn't serving us anymore in terms of our relationships, beliefs, and values. And the new year, again, it's going to be dynamic change all throughout it, and challenge to old systems, implementing new systems that nourish humanity, equalize humanity, and reconnect us with nature, while simultaneously moving into the greatest stages of technological advancement that we've ever seen before. That's 2021 and onwards for you. Any other questions? The 13th Zodiac, well, it's something that astronomers made up. The 13th Zodiac is, it's a constellation that exists, but it's not a part of traditional astrology. And again, astrology works on the magic of intention. Same way you can get any oracle card deck, and the card that you get will reflect your present reality. So astrology, like anything else, reflects the present reality. And there's also something about when many people commit to a belief or a way of doing things, the power of that system becomes stronger. So the years and years that people have put into astrology and the collective focus on working with the system in a certain way makes the system itself more powerful. So, in the same sense, if you work with a 13 sign system, that will still work, because any system that you design with intention will always reflect reality back to you. So, not to say that it's wrong, but it's not really going to catch on, and it's not in any way better. But yeah, feel free to play around with it. There's many different systems and schools of astrology. They all work, and they all help us see things in a different way. So I'm not encouraging anyone to just stick with this system of astrology. I've studied many, and I work with many, and I teach mostly about this one, do readings with the Western style system because it's most widely known, and it will be most, helpful for people to connect with other astrologers and other people about the charts. Yeah. I didn't mention about Aquarius. We're in an Aquarian age, that Aquarius is just really weird. Aquarius is really bizarre. So you may find that in this new year, there's new weird things that are happening. A good way to work with this energy is to challenge yourself to do things that you've never done before. I'm feeling this energy as like a total new chapter of my life. Well, for one, it's my Saturn return, but beyond that, it's the Aquarian energy. It's like, I'm done with the old. I don't want to deal with the things I've dealt with before. Even, being in a place that I've lived for so long doesn't feel exciting. Relating to people in the same way that I've related to doesn't feel exciting. It's all about asking ourselves, how can we do things new, and how can we make things weird? How can we do things that we have never done before? And people who have been doing the same thing all of their lives, we can see in the world right now, are really challenged by COVID-19 and by lockdown and by all of this. But other people thrive. Other people thrive during this time. And of course it has to do with your charts. I notice, doing readings with people, I really do notice that people who have a lot of earth sign placements have been doing amazing with COVID-19, whereas people that, have some harsher relationships to the Capricorn energy that has been influencing COVID-19 haven't been doing well. So, it is really about that, in a sense, practical focus. Working with the earth of the Taurus energy, but innovating it, Uranus, and being open to new ways of doing things, new ways of seeing it. I've said that phrase too many times now. I'm bored with that phrase. 11:22. When did I even start this? I don't know why it doesn't show me how long I've been on the phone. Okay, I think that was a really deep dive. I appreciate everyone for watching. My website is dantestarshine.com. My YouTube channel is also Dante Starshine, or youtube.com/blissbeings. And take a check on the channel. You can subscribe for more info. And I'm doing the channeling sessions there a lot, and the astrology readings every so often. So thanks all so much for tuning in. If you're just catching it now, you can watch the replay. We're closing this chapter for now. Replay will be available in a couple minutes. I love you all very much. Great appreciation. Enjoy the solstice. Call in the new. Dream what the new dream is for you. And let go of those beliefs, values, and relationships that don't serve you, because that's what will be invited as we move into the new year in our personal life. So yeah, have a blessed day for you all as well. Maybe we can close the video just taking a look at the beauty of nature around us. Again, working with the Taurus energy, it's all about love and beauty. And through beauty, we take in energy. When we take a moment to pause and appreciate the experience we're having, we receive energy from it. We can even do this with challenging energies, but to live somewhere that's beautiful or have beautiful things around you in your home setting really, really helps. And really appreciative of this lake and everything it offers. And yeah. I would say that I'll miss it, but I won't, because I kind of always carry it in me. I guess to some extent I'll eventually miss it, but like I said with the Aquarian energies, I'm really much more excited to call in the new. Alright, blessings, everybody. Love you, and talk to you later.